Yeah, I don't know. Terrifier 3 post of a story thingy. So yes, I told y'all I had to rush up out of here because I need to go see Terrifier 3. So I went to go see it last night. I wanted to see it early in the day because I hate like being out in this, like going to the theater late at night, because it's like the trains in New York City are fucking horrible in regards of how the trains and everything works around here. It depends on the like where you live as well. When you in Manhattan, you got all them people with a lot of money. It seems like the trains work better for them. But if you live like out in the Bronx, or if you're going to Queens, whatever, the train is always some drama with the damn trains, especially train traffic. But anyway, so I went to go see the movie yesterday. I'm so over it when it comes to theaters and these 20-minute trailers. Why do we get so many long trailers? I hate sitting through trailers. I actually did run into somebody that I used to work with that was in the same theater as me. That actually I used to work with at AMC, was in the same theater as me. We went to go see Terrifier 3. So I watched the movie. It was a lot of people in there, contrary, because I think of, like, in regards to people thinking like, how is this movie gonna fare well at the box office? Like, it is a film that has kind of gained a lot of momentum due to word of mouth. It is not something that, it's not like Friday the 13th or Scream or I Know What You Did Last Time. It's not like, or not even terrible. What's that movie that's coming out next week? Smile 2. Like, it's not something like that where it already has like a big studio behind it, so it's get this big promotional push. The thing with Terrifier series is that it's built this momentum through word of mouth, so that's how a lot of people are aware of it. And it was great that I was in a theater with a lot of people who are like horror movie fans that like this type of film. There was kids in there that had like Terrifier shirts on. They had the Art the Clown, regalia. There was one girl had a face painted up like she was a clown herself. I was like, okay, Harley Quinn, did you step into the wrong movie? Joker's playing in the other theater. But she was there to see Art. And when I tell you that Art the Clown delivered in this movie, I will have to say, out of all the films, part 3 is actually my favorite. Now, David Howard Thornton definitely did his damn thing as Art the Clown, per usual. I will say this, that I've noticed that the makeup was a step up as well. And I think because they've gotten more money this time around, that a lot of the makeup jobs and everything was a lot better. I love the makeup. I love the blood. I love the gore. And shout out to David Leone. I don't know. You are one sick fuck. No shade, but you are. But I say that in a good way, because who comes up with the stuff that he comes up with? Like, when I'm watching like the kill scenes, and then it's like the prosthetic, like, I love practical effects. There's one thing I can't stand is digital. Like, I understand if you want to use digital to enhance certain things, but for the most part, I love when when he uses props to enhance what I'm seeing on the screen. And I just loved seeing a lot of the props and the props, the prosthetics, all that other stuff. And I was to say, yeah, the Art the Clown's makeup looked amazing in this film. And then David Leone said that, yeah, he had people that helped out with the makeup this time around, but he said that he's very much hands-on when it comes to stuff, because in the beginning, in All Hallows Eve, which is where Art the Clown comes from, if you have not seen All Hallows Eve, which is a short film series, definitely check that out on Shudder. That's where Art the Clown comes from. And then that's when it stemmed into the whole Terrifier franchise. So if you haven't seen the 2 Terrifier movies, Terrifier 1 and 2, you can catch those on Amazon Prime. If you want to see All Hallows Eve, you can catch that on Shudder. And I'm sure if you had Screenbox, you can check it on there too. But no shade, Screenbox ain't got they got slim pickings when it comes to the horror. Shudder has way better stuff on there. So I definitely loved the film. I thought, like I said, David Howard Thornton did a phenomenal job as Art the Clown. I did notice that between the previous 2 movies, he played this character a little more sinister. Like, I noticed there was a darker vibe to him. I do like that they're going more into this whole supernatural thing, especially when you had Vicky, who, was in the earlier films, and then how she's been taken over and now she's become this vessel where it's like she needs Sienna to lose everything that she loves, everything in life, so that way she could let her in and take over her body and that sort of thing. But so the kills and stuff was crazy. I forget the actor who played Sienna's uncle. I remember seeing him in previous stuff. I know he was on that show Popular that was with Mary Cherry and them. I don't know if y'all seen that show back in the day, but I recognized it because of the ears. I can't remember the actor's name, but yes, he's starting a lot of earlier films and a lot of earlier TV shows that I used to watch coming up, I think, on the CW. And then here's the thing that I was thinking also, because we're about to talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer in the next segment. But I was sitting there thinking, like, if they bring Brandy back, that they would have her be like some sort of a serial killer, podcaster, one of those type of things. They already have. I've realized maybe they need to change that because they've done that to death in regards of those type of characters. Because there's a girl in this movie that plays that kind of character that is obsessed with serial killers and wanting to get behind in their mind and what they smell like and what they were thinking when they're killing people. And she kind of gets obsessed with Jonathan, who is her boyfriend's roommate. And, you know, Jonathan from Terrifier 2, and then Sienna, and how she has no kind of respect or regard for the fact that, yeah, you're obsessed with these killers, but what do you think these people are going through that have gone through this thing and how they survive these traumatic events? And yes, trauma, people dealing with the trauma is something that has been done to death, I will say, but it's always about in the way you execute it. And I feel like in this film, David Leone did a great job of executing, dealing with Sienna's trauma and Jonathan's trauma. Oh, speaking of Jonathan, I felt like he was underused in this film. I would have liked to see more from him and seeing how he was coping in regards of the trauma of what he dealt with in Terrifier 2. Other than that, that's my only gripe with the movie, is that I don't feel like his character was developed enough. Where I did feel like he took a backseat in a lot of situations, or maybe that there was more that was added to it, but because people complain about the previous film being 2.5 hours long, and this movie, it is 2 hours, which I think is great because they're talking about people have short attention. Well, fuck these TikTok kids. Like, if they're the people who only can watch a movie for 10 minutes, then this is not for them. But for me, if there's enough story that you can put in there and those other stuff, and you want to build on these characters and you're building this world, I don't mind a movie being a little over 2 hours if you're going to take me on this journey that I can go along with. Now, in regards to the kills, I will say this: a lot they were talking about people walking out and all this other stuff, and I do think people were overreacting in a lot of that way. But for me personally, I didn't see nobody walk out. The only time I seen people walking out, they were going to the bathroom because I was watching, and them same people did come back. So, for the most part, then it was a guy in there with an emotional support dog. I'm like, I don't know if this is a movie you want to sit and watch if you have an emotional support dog and you be dealing with a lot of mental issues. Because I think like when people have emotional support, it's a lot of mental stuff you got to deal with. I'm like, do you really want to sit and watch this movie? Do you even have a ticket for this movie? Because if you don't, then you don't know what you're about to walk in on. And you already know whenever you watch someone like Art the Clown, you already know what you're going to get when you get this. You're going to get him going over the line, the fact that nobody is spared. And trust me when I tell you, nobody is spared. So when you think like kids should be off limits, old people should be off limits, this person's supposed to be, oh, you're not supposed to do that? Okay, now if you want people to like not kill kids, okay, then go over there to Jason and Michael Myers. But if you're expecting to get that from Art the Clown, especially when this movie takes place on Christmas, then you are a fool. So for people to go out here and get all annoyed over some of the kill choices that Damien Leone has Art make in this film, then okay, go argue with your mammy. Like, this is not the movie for you. Like, especially if you're not somebody that's into gore and all that other stuff. Now, I will say this, because, you know, like, with each movie, they always have, like, that movie that they say, like, okay, there's a scene that you already know you're going to expect. So there's a specific scene that's going to go, I guess, top the previous movie. Because, you know, in Terrifier 2, they had the bedroom scene, which they were like, okay, this was, like, the ultimate kill. Now, in part 3, we do get that. But there's but the weird part is in part 3, there's some really good kills in there that it's like, that's not the only kill. That one standout kill, I'll say it's the shower scene, but I'm not going to tell you what happens in there. That scene, I was like, oh God, like, come on. Especially when it was like, what was going on and the chainsaw and what it was cutting up and things of that nature. I was like, oh, okay, like, I'm done, but I'm still invested. Because I gotta look away, but I can't because I'm like looking at the train wreck. I gotta look at the accident on the side of the road. You know, it's like you can't look away because you want to see what happens. And Art definitely pulled it up. Now, and I also love the third act when it's like Sienna and Art have their showdown. And it was so like, you know, and we're getting more into that backstory where Jason Patrick, who you guys may know, played in one of my favorite movies growing up, The Lost Boys. So he plays Sienna's father, and we get the backstory and all the other stuff and knowing what her sole purpose is and the legacy behind the sword and all that other stuff, which you get a little bit of breadcrumbs of that in Terrifier 2. It's more fleshed out in part 3. So I will say, overall, I love the film, and here is Art and Vicky. That's all I'm saying. The makeup on this movie absolutely like I love the makeup effects on here. I love the props. I love the kills. Oh, and I also shout out to David Leone, who I was like, I didn't even know he was 40, which makes a whole lot of sense because someone within that age of like millennial, like on the butt end of the millennial era verse, and then also maybe Gen X, because he's kind of like on, yeah, he's like, yeah, he's 40. So he grew up on the things that I grew up on. He grew up on like I Spit on Your Grave and Friday the 13th and Halloween and all those type of films where it's like you look at the makeup effects and stuff, and the guy that he looks up to in regards to the makeup, of course, is the godfather of makeup effects, and that's Tom Savini. And seeing Tom Savini in a cameo in this film definitely warmed my heart. And I love the fact that people, like, there were people in the audience that were clapping. I'm like, yes, y'all know who Tom Savini is. Let me find out. So it's like, yeah, when you're a true like horror nerd, you're gonna know, like, you're gonna see the little things that's in there. Like you'll notice with certain cameos. And then the last movie, he had Felissa Rose, who played Angela from Sleepaway Camp. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now this guy has somebody from Sleepaway Camp in his movie playing a teacher in the second one. So it's like when you bring people, and then he also had her in another movie that he produced, which I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I do want to see it. I think it's called Stream or something or another, with Danielle Harris and a bunch of them. They go to like this hotel and there's like serial killers that are pretty much just like a game, and they get locked in this hotel room and they have to try to survive the night. And then people are literally are betting to see like how many people these killers can kill. I've said I know Damien Leone is behind the effects and stuff on that. So I definitely want to check that movie out. I know it was like in limited release, and I'm just waiting for that to show up on like Prime or something so I can check it out. But yeah, so my overall thoughts on this was like, yeah, I feel like out of all the three films, I loved all three movies. The first one was basically all about just like art going on, killing people. Didn't really have much of a story. It was like we're sitting there watching the kills. The effects were crazy. You did what you could with the limited budget. Part two was like we got to see Sienna and get introduced to her and her family and how she became like the final girl. So she, in my opinion, is going to be the Sidney Prescott, the Nev Campbell. Well, not Nev. I don't want to put Nev Campbell in it. Nev Campbell will always be an icon. But she, in my opinion, is for the next generation of horror movie fans, she's going to be in that Mount Rushmore, in my opinion, the more they flesh her character out, of a Sidney Prescott, of a Laurie Strode, or, someone of that nature. So I definitely see or an Ellen Ripley of sorts. So I could definitely see her coming up in that whole thing. But I just thought Damien did a phenomenal job with this film, especially using the money wisely, because a lot of people get a lot of money when it comes to a budget and they just blow it on some of the most stupidest things. And I did watch an interview with him where he talked about like he took meetings with a lot of major movie heads and all this other stuff, and how we could tell based off the conversation that yeah, they wanted to come in, they wanted to change some things, they weren't going to allow him to do certain things that he wanted to do with the story in regards to the kills, which is why this film was unrated and not rated R. And that's why he was like, nah, I'm gonna just stick with being independent. So he appreciated taking the meetings, but he didn't want them coming in and trying to change things up. Or even though we've had Terrifier 1 and 2 and all this other stuff. And he said he was actually able to buy a house after he started writing, securing the rights for Terrifier 3. So he was still off doing his side jobs and things while we were getting, while Art the Clown was becoming this icon of sorts on the Mount Rushmore of like a Freddy or a Jason or a Michael Myers and that sort of thing. So it was good to know, like, he's at this point, he's like, I'm humble enough. Like, I don't want the big fame and all this other stuff. I just want to be able to, support myself and be able to do the things that I love. And I realized that when I always say it gets greater later, that's what I truly mean about that. Like, it's not important to be, I need to have the big mansion that's $25 million house that I'm going to buy and have all the money and the hookers and partying and doing freak off. Like, I don't need all that. Because, like, when you get to be a certain age, you start to realize what's more important. And he realizes that, you know what, I just want to make my movies. I just want to be able to have success from them. And I want to be able to take care of myself and live off the fact of what I've created is paying off. And it is paying off. So shout out to Damien Leone. He's like becoming like one of my favorite directors right now. I want to see him direct other things. Like, I don't want you to have we don't need a Terrifier part 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We don't need it to go that far. If he can cap it at 4 or maybe 5, then I think we're good. And then I want to see him create other things, because I don't want him to just be locked into this whole Terrifier franchise. And then you're just basically a one note director. I don't get that from him. because I feel like he is immensely creative, and especially when it comes to like effects and makeup and that sort of thing. Like I see that he's one of those guys, and then him creating this Art the Clown situation, and then the other film that I was talking about with Stream, he definitely is on his way of becoming like that horror movie making icon. You know, in the same vein of Joe Spinell, or maybe even a John Carpenter, someone of that nature. So yeah, the kills were creative. I loved it. I love the fact that he used the money wisely in regards to the budget, the storyline, using a lot of unknown actors. To me, that's always interesting. Don't put no big names in your movies, because if you're going to kill people, I don't want it to be like, oh, yeah, so that's Ryan Gosling in a movie, and now you got to cut him up with a chainsaw. Like, I don't want to see that. I feel like let's invest in the characters and now look at the fact that there's this big star in your film. Like, we didn't get that from Scream and all these other films, even though there were people who were famous in their own right that were in those movies, but they were utilized correctly. So, you know, I give this movie, you know, if I had to go 10 out of 10 or whatever the case is, I would give it like a solid 8.5. It's definitely a movie I think a lot of people should check out. If you're a huge horror movie gore hound fan like I am, you'll definitely enjoy it. If you're just going expecting that you're probably going to be cringing a lot, that you're going to be like, I can't believe he went there doing that. But so if you're looking for lighthearted horror, if you're looking for like the Babadook or something like that, this is not what this movie is. If you're looking for Hereditary, if you're looking for stuff like that, if you're looking for like that low key, like if you're looking to not be freaked out about stuff, this is not the movie for you. So I definitely highly recommend it if you're a huge horror movie fan. So I say all this to say, what do y'all think of this story? Did you see Terrifier 3? Did you like the movie? Did you hate the movie? What were your overall thoughts? I'm curious to hear what you guys had to hear about it. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where Damien, I don't know why I keep calling him David. It's like Damien Leone. I think I'm thinking about David in my head. But what do you think about Damien? I mean, and also, what would you like to see Damien take on? You know what, I was like, maybe we could see Damien take on Friday the 13th. They wanted to revive that franchise. I would definitely love to see him take on Friday the 13th and see where he could take us with that in regards to fleshing out the story, and it being longer than 90 minutes, and then what kind of crazy kills he can come up with. I would definitely love to see him take on a Friday the 13th franchise. I wouldn't want to see him do Halloween. I'd rather Friday the 13th. And this, to me, is like I think it's on my list of favorite horror movie Christmas films, up there with Black Christmas is one of them, and Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first one, not all the sequels, the first one. You know, that was another movie that was banned. So I wonder if he was inspired by that too, because Silent Night, Deadly Night was a movie that was so controversial, was banned back in the day, and it's really hard to get a hold of that movie too. So let me know although I did hear they're coming out with I think they're doing a Blu-ray or something or another. I believe Robert posted that or something or another about that there is a Silent Night, Deadly Night, what is it, Blu-ray or something or another. There's something coming out with it where it's going to be available on disc. I need to see it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.